Here we go. Hey, hey. Yeah, you point. Hey, hey, hey. You got Chief.
The Americano.
Actually, he's that way.
What's up, guys?
The screen. What's up, guys? What's going on? Man, what is today? Wednesday?
The 9th.
The 9th. Man, this is what a week so far since what last Friday. Yeah. We can catch some people up on some. Before we do that, I gotta get some stuff off my chest. B, yeah.
It's been a eventful day for you.
Early in the morning, I officially got canceled by a friend I've known for about 6 years, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, a long time. Wow.
6 years.
You're definitely a friend.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. It wasn't anything fake or anything like that. My dog got to go by. Go ahead, Jen. But what makes it so? Actually, what I'll do, just so we get some context, and we can pull this up so people can see. So over the weekend, it was an awesome weekend. We went to the Beverly Hills rally once again. Every Saturday at 3:00 is how to get down. So if anyone wants to go there, you don't know any rallies, that's for sure. So we go there, and as we get there and we get in the home, we do the walk and everything. And it was actually really dope because, B, you want to explain what you ended up doing to set it up?
No, we just added a little bit more structure to it because it's obviously always an energetic and lively crowd. And sometimes folks get separated and there's not really a context given to the amount of people that are there. And we just brought a little bit of continuity to it, just made sure that the media was in the right place.
Yeah.
Worked a little bit closer with the cops to make sure that the route was set forth, and they gave us a little bit more space, which was great. So, no, it came out. I saw some of the footage. I saw some of the footage of actually you and Lucas and Kick. And
MAGA?
Yeah, specific. No, MAGA wasn't it. It was the part when you were getting real fired up about the flag. Frankly, I don't know. I think that just came out a few hours or so ago.
The flag.
You were saying how they're trying to demonize the flag in schools, and
that's
what kids need to be learning right now. And but man, the camera was just like in tight on you. You were giving it to them real heavy, and I have a real feeling that when that gets picked up by some of the folks with the larger following, that's gonna go viral because you looked intense, man.
Wow,
but in a good way.
I mean, I thought this is intense stuff, man. I know, over the weekend too. One thing that was because I guess the best way to describe ourselves, both of us, is look, we know a lot of different things that's happening, and that's terrible. And when you're in those positions and we're kind of dropping information is when you're saying it out loud and you see people look at you like they didn't know this is happening or what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you see two people over just kind of clapping yeah, you're right. And, one of the things that really got me was that we were, talking about SB 145 that just passed.
Yeah.
That say basically, as long as you're 10 years apart, if the younger
10 years or less,
if the younger person is consents, then it's not a crime, and it's specifically oral and anal. So to kind of at least save the young girls, but so to yell about that. And when you get into it and you're starting to say it out loud, you get into, or at least I get into a place where you're this shouldn't be the world. What world are we living in where they're masking it under protecting LGBT communities? And it's the same guy, Congressman Weiner up in San Fran, the same guy who passed the bill, who got it introduced it and got it passed to decriminalize knowingly giving someone HIV, something that was rampant in the gay community up on 5 years ago. Yeah. People would post about how, you got it now you're one of us, or now you're like me. And so they made it a felony. And then what they used in the bill, I'm sure it was his words, they use minority sex workers as the cover for why they wanted to do it, saying that they disproportionately get arrested. So that's why we want to make this law. It's so I can come into your house And if I steal over is it over 500 that makes it a felony?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can steal over 500 from your house and it's a felony. But if I knowingly just come in and destroy your cellular structure, it's less than a parking ticket here in LA.
Look, quick shout out to Spoon, but he gets in real deep in terms of sort of the cultural war or the cultural Marxist revolution that we're witnessing in real time. And when you look at how that ties into, again, the critical race theory, I was seeing one earlier today about, homosexuality theory, like these really super technical papers written by academics that are, again, then dispersed and taught in higher education and then seeped all the way down into high schools and younger. But, it's a way for them to tear at the fabric of cultural norms, again, making it that you're sitting there on the side of really probably erring on the side of common sense on most things. Again, coming from a liberal background, you err on the side of common sense, which makes you in the USA 2020 a quasi extremist,
Like that's something that takes us right to the how I got canceled today. And it's like it's gotten to a place where, and you see all of them, Brandon Strzok doing a walkaway movement, and you can Google "I didn't leave the left left me." You can see these stories all over the place, and like to sit there and this person I've known for a while, long friends, have gone through some ups and downs, open my home to her and everything, and multiple times, and bad things happened too, but forgave and moved on. And because of these pictures right here that I will share with you guys.
Oh, screen share.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're coming up now. So this picture, and this picture, all of them. And in this picture, we have one that you can see, and one guy back here you can barely see, who happens to be white. Not like that matters to me at all, but as you can see here, so those 3 pictures she texted to me today, and then said basically has to draw a line in the sand because we're working on a project together. Draw a line in the sand because she doesn't agree. I don't know with what exactly, but that's what she said. And what was the words? Because she's pro-black and so on. And it confused me in so many different ways because, again, the 3 pictures that I show you is nothing. Oh, we'll show that later. But the 3 pictures are showed right here is MAGA Hawk and I. This guy's actually a Cuban. And then you have right here, one white guy, one here. And saying, when you say, well, I'm this, you're insinuating the other person isn't that, or what that's about isn't. And I'm thinking to myself, again, this is not even to anything or whatever. It's more like I'm a big believer in putting your money where your mouth is, right? And if you want to help somebody, you go out and do it. Now, it's like I've spent and given my time to talk to young Black and Hispanic juvenile delinquents for 6 months before the shutdown. A year ago, I was feeding the homeless down in Skid Row, 99% Black, like at least once a month. I mean, that's financially what I can do. And so for this person to say pro-Black when I know their story too, and they haven't even come close to handing out something like that to a community of Black downtrodden individuals, it makes me go, this TDS and listening to, the media and everything to tell you who's good and who's bad. Like it's so deep and it's so ingrained that this person who stole shit from my own house, for roommates that were here before, was forgiven and then come back in, couldn't even make a phone call, but making this thing as if everything that I'm supporting is anti-Black.
Yeah, the way that I look at it, and using the goalposts as the election, which I think we're about 54 days out.
Yeah.
we're at that time in this culture war with anxieties and pressures, whatever anybody's circumstances are, that again, you are experiencing it in real time, losing lifelong friends, you're losing more recent friends, you're losing close friends, but at the same time, you're reconnecting with friends that you haven't connected with in decades. So,
well, it's like this too, man. And we talked about like in general, like when we started just getting active about 2 months ago. And it's something that I noticed that like as informed and intelligent as people on the left think they are, I realize now for all the different things that we've done, and definitely last month, things that have gone viral, millions of people have seen, they're about a month to 2 months behind what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I was been waiting this whole time for them to be like, oh, is this you? But nothing, right? And anyone that comes out of nowhere, they tend to be white.
Again, it just speaks to individuals' echo chambers, right? The little circles where they only listen to really their points of view, their close friends' point of view. And again, anything that they find to be, distasteful, they just don't listen to it. They'll just censor it. They'll just mute it, right?
Right. But they all of the bullshit, and then you feel like I know all the bullshit, so I'm smart.
Yeah.
Because I know all the stuff. I know all the stuff that is only on these channels that I watch anyway. So you think you're connected, and I'm like, honestly, it was a weird thing of like being kind of surprised in a way that like, wow, that's how, like kind of having like a timetable to actually see it now. Not knowing, how do you not know 6%? How do you not know the First Step Act? Literally every single person, including on Instagram, Facebook, or not Facebook, Twitter, in person, when they ask me about my support of Trump and I start talking to them, every single black person I talk to, I go, the First Step Act, do you know that? They go, no. Mm-hmm. That was his first 6 months.
Yeah, so, no, it's
released 4,000 prisoners, 97% of them were black or Hispanic, like, and on the first day. Why isn't that not known? And how do you think
basically the mind bend is that on the other foot you have Crime Bill Joe, three strike Joe,
right,
and then Dirty Cop Kamala. So it's like you don't even have someone who's someone that's on the opposite side of the spectrum, even though we know Trump has again opened up folks to get them out of prison. He does want to decriminalize nonviolent,
or at least somebody that's like at the same place.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what motherfuckers like yelled in Congress about how he didn't want a racial jungle?
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
Yeah,
the right didn't.
That's what I mean. It's in real time. You can have someone that will say that Trump is the most racist person ever. Wherein again, we can say it a million times, there was never any accusations of that prior to him running as a Republican, right?
Of course.
But you can actually look at the voting history and the prosecutorial history of Harris and see what they did to black communities.
Yeah, exactly what they did. And I want to say it on here because I meant to say it on this interview I did the other day that I totally forgot. Before the dude ran, I didn't like him at all.
Maybe I told you I didn't either.
I didn't like. I thought he was pompous. I thought all the character stuff that right now I'm like, that doesn't matter to me because he's getting the job done. Mm-hmm. Is like that's what I did. I never really watched The Apprentice. Every time it was on guest spots on another thing, I'm like, how is this dude popular?
Because I remember my dad was a gigantic boxing fight, so we got all of the major fights in Atlantic City and Vegas, and he was at all of the fights. So I just associated him with being kind of this like cheesy guy with all this cash.
Yeah.
And all of the imagery that you did see out in New York was this over the top, like godly, gold plated, all this. And
and you're like,
I didn't care for it. Yeah.
At all, and so, and I always tell people like, what happened? I'm like, I'm at the National Black Theater Festival. It's like at this point it's 2016. And it was the first night we got there. I'm chilling. That night was like, the Republican debate, and I'm like, all right, let's see what happens, man. This guy is going to have to start swinging for the fences because they're already after him. The media was, I remember they said, oh, he'll be out by June or something. I'm like, all right. And so I'm watching this, and the first thing he said to me, he was like, when they brought up healthcare and he goes, well, I think they should just put it back on the open market and remove the barriers in states and allow people to shop across state lines.
Yep. And
when I heard that, I'm like, uh-oh, like this person is saying stuff that's actually going to cut into the pockets on both right and left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I sat up. I'm like, let's see how long this thing's going to last.
And again, which makes a ton of sense to people that live outside the Beltway. But to the people that live inside that DC infrastructure, it's incredibly threatening.
Or the coast,
right?
I mean, we're here in Hollywood. It's like Hollywood. Just Variety alone came up with the Academy just said they're going to do.
Right.
It's like
I didn't read it. I heard about it a couple of years ago. But now it's official.
I read like the first 3 paragraphs and I had to stop because I wanted to throw my phone and I realized that's my phone.
It's all again about the diversity quotas, right?
Yeah. So basically they're going to have to nominate one black or one minority. I think one minority, one's supposed to be black. So it's just a whole nother thing. A LGBT and like a trans or something. And I'm like, this is
why not just merit?
But not that, and it's like almost going back to getting canceled today off this project with somebody I considered a friend. It's like that's who you're catering to. People who are willingly tokenizing you, me, anyone who's not white, and they say we have to, and that's their way of trying to open it back up. It's like, how about John Boyega doesn't get his face shrunk down when they have the posters in China? That'd do it. Not some arbitrary fake ass motion. Like just let the best person be up there.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating. And again, we look at how many conversations have we had in the last 6 months of like various insiders that you've heard break down the Disney dilemma, break down the Star Wars soap opera, break down sort of the dying infrastructure, which is Hollywood.
Yep.
And again, how often is it that you and I are engaged in a conversation with somebody, we start talking about Hollywood and how quickly you and I take that conversation to China's influence, right? And again, they have no idea their impact, their influence. So again, as someone who frankly has dedicated their entire adult life and their college academic career to theater and acting, for you to sort of see the place where you thought that professionally you were going to be able to fit in and you were going to find yourself, which you have, but where you would look at really aspiring to be a part of, you're looking at it from a distance being like, man, this is something that I don't even recognize.
And that's the thing too, because it reminds me of McCarthyism back in the 50s,
right?
Where you had these artists, these actors having to go in front of Congress because, a bunch of crazy people were like, you're a communist.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to prove that they weren't, or just to be able to work. Messed up thing is now we look at the industry and we look at a lot of places and they're actually pushing, Marxist ideas. And you're like, but basically it's about the witch hunt, And like, how can you sit there and all these people want to claim to be artists and open and trying to explore this, but as soon as somebody says anything that's on the right from their perspective, or that just doesn't fit into what the far left is saying, you're done.
Yeah,
that's acceptance.
Well, again, look what Obama said, several months ago in terms of like the circular firing squad. You always reference that. That's a great reference, but also look at the city like Portland, right? The mayor gives the anarchists / the rioters, the agitators, he lets them basically do whatever they want to do.
Whatever
they show up to burn down his apartment. You know what I mean? It's like the people that are leading the way in terms of the far left movement, which again is a vocal movement, and it's going to be getting louder as we get closer to the election.
This happens when you're funded well.
But again, you have to look at that in terms of the mug shots of these people that are getting arrested in these cities, man. It's like not living dead shit, man.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it makes sense when you have all these kids that like you don't have to feel like you need to accomplish anything. Showing up, you're better than or equal to whoever the boss is. Like, where is the drive to want to be better than where you are? Because what you're taught, and I've seen this I showed you this, is like, This guy I know sent me this from what is it? Crystal Meth Anonymous, and sends me this thing, and it's specifically gay and LGBT crystal meth users. And
that was by the way the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It was. But they're in there when you're talking about people who are suffering with like some kind of addiction. Literally, one of them said, like, John has struggles. He's always in and out of sobriety, but every time he returns, everyone's like, "Hey, John, I'll help you out. Call me, do all this." John is 33 years old, white gay guy who's a doctor or a lawyer. What do you think he may be? What do you think he may be gaining from? And they say all these terms, and one of them is, of course, white privilege. And the whole time I'm like, how does this help someone like deal with their addiction? Then the second question went on to talk about a black woman with like 3 kids on her own who's addicted to crystal meth, divorced. She may be suffering from ... The answer was the patriarchy. So this meth head, the reason why she's a meth head is because of the patriarchy, not because of what's the demons going inside people. Yeah. So that's dangerous as shit. This is a New York. And it's
like again, another Spoon shout out. But again, in terms of the Marxist rollout, they basically have to immediately go after the weakest minded, the most vulnerable, because they immediately need to get them on their team, and then obviously the next group.
Then they can point of where they need to go.
Then the next group that they need to get down are the young kids, right? Yeah. Obviously, they take over the college age kids, right? Because those are the most energy, the most idealistic, and then obviously for them, ideally, they can get into the elementary schools. That's where they want to get them, which they have. So
we're seeing it when that thing you were talking about, from all these people in schools right now, and all these people online doing it. And we know the curriculum that they're introducing Black Lives Matter curriculum in there, which is a lie and Marxist too. So I'll say this till the cows come home. Take your kids out of school. Take your kids out of school and homeschool, man. Because another friend of mine dating this girl, this teacher in Arizona, saying, she's like, "Oh man, there's a lot of like abuse going on." I'm like, what is she saying? He's like, "Oh, well, there's loud music, yelling, men walking around with the shirts off." And then boom, it hit me. I'm like, now they have a reason to spy on you in real time. So imagine you just got into a fight with your 15-year-old son, and in the morning over some dumb shit, he didn't take the garbage out, yelling at each other. Then he mumbles right before he turns on. And then all of a sudden you hear, as they walk by, you're like, "What'd you say? Listen, you little shit." And then you keep moving by. All of a sudden the teacher's here. Dad's calling him names.
Yeah.
Over a little moment here, but now a teacher who is by law, if she feels like their abuse is going on, has to contact the authorities, which by law, they have to come and investigate. So now moments that could be, anything could be taken, men walking around with their shirts off at home.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're going to be able to cut now.
Look, there's so many outside circumstances that people don't understand. Again, one I heard the other day was we're parents with 3 kids, like 3 school age kids. It's like, how do you keep 3 kids in 3 different rooms focused on these tasks? And again, we all have had young kids. We all are around groups of young kids, and there's
been young kids.
Exactly.
So that's all you want to do, sit there from 9 to 3, 4, just in a room by yourself when you hear your family outside, when you hear other things going on, like. And then if those things are too loud now, a teacher can be like, "Oh, wow, there's abuse going on over there."
And then they try to get into the psychology of, the fact of the matter is that they say they're trying to spin it that the masks don't interfere with the interaction of the kids and they can get the same effects. And I'm like, look, man, don't give me some like behavioral science, like new age bullshit.
It's fake.
Fake.
We know. I mean, look at babies and how they stare at you like they want to fight, right? Because they're taking it in. Dogs, that's how dogs do it too, to figure out their owner. All of a sudden now you're telling me kids who barely are around each other, for one of their first times they're interacting with people outside of their comfortable circle.
Yeah.
See all of this and their interactions are going to be normal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need some guy who went to Harvard to sit down and be like, because they read a book and they got all those bullshit words in their heads, now they can spit it at me and saying that is progress.
Look, the more that we learn about just the field of psychology and the field of psychiatric medicine. And I read John Ronson's book about are you a psycho or do you believe that you're a psycho or something like that. And, they basically going in, and so many of the medicines that we look at in 2020 are built off quack science, whether we like to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah. Away from natural stuff too.
As far as we can get, right? So yeah, it's
and I said this earlier, and it's just because it really grind my gears today, and it's like as BLM's running around and they have all these people making these statements, Oprah's doing the whole thing about white privilege, knowing that in the 80s, what country would allow a fat black woman to be on TV? Let's ask that question to everybody and see how back in the 80s.
Probably the good old USA. That's about it.
And all these people, LeBron James talking all ridiculousness. And I think to myself, I'm like, but whether it's this cancellation, whether it's even on our first video, somebody I've known a long time, another black person coming in trying to basically be a bully about it, basically shame me into shutting up and going away, claiming that it wasn't well thought out or considerate. And it's like, what? Huh? Like, so I feel like some of the times I got to shut the hell up because I'm saying too many things. But it's like the black folks in community so many times gets in the way of individuals being different before they can even go out in the street to
look, I forget who I heard talking about it recently, but one of the things that you and I speak of all the time is the difference in mentality between Black Americans and Africans.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different mindset. I was having this conversation with a close friend who's helping us do some work here at the house. And, when you basically break down the psychology, make it a little bit more to understand, the idea that racism obviously doesn't exist within the Black community is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that, they've made racism on behalf of Black people fashionable in the last 5 years.
That was 30 years.
Yeah.
It was soft earlier because comedians can just crack a joke. And I mean, and the reason why I say 30 is because, like, dude, I couldn't tell you how many times, like, you talk to somebody from high school, from college all the way to now, I'll be like, oh, a white person, like, hey man, what's your background? Oh, I'm just white. It's like, what? It's like, that's already part of the breakdown. So it's easy then when somebody goes, oh, white boy, how many times you hear that on the basketball court or shit? We're talking shit in college. It's like, man, fuck you, white boy. And it's like all this shit. It's like that. I mean, those are the things that have been okayed for so long. And then, but for anyone to be like, well, it happened like this back then. I'm like, okay, so two wrongs make it right. So now when you sit there and whether people want to believe it or not, white folks still are in the majority of this country. So you're going to get all these people that a lot of them aren't even around Black folks like that or people of color like that.
Yeah. I just got a train of thought, and, we can wrap it up after this point here. But again, the mentality of someone who has been told their whole life that your existence is here because you're from slaves.
Yeah.
The existence of an American Black in terms of a lot of what the education is given. And again, a lot of the stories that are told in the African-American community, the Black community, as opposed to someone like yourself, who has African roots, who's raised by an African mom, who's raised by an African mother, who told you the story of you being equal to everybody else in God's eyes. Yeah. Nothing about you.
Basically told me the story of you need to get your education, damn it. Like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what. She sat down because that's what she was raised with something that I was called an Oreo for coming out speaking clearly like this, for dressing properly. That didn't happen from white people.
Yeah.
That was the Black kids I was living with. So what were their parents telling them?
So again, it's basically been thrust upon yourself, been thrust upon others in the Black community to sort of re-educate the younger Black community and say, look, this, you aren't from slaves. You aren't you weren't owned by somebody. That's not what your existence is.
Right.
Again, once you change that mentality,
Democrats have nobody to vote for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, dude, that's where we're leaving, man. We got to change our minds, guys. We got to wake up, and you know what? It's okay to change your mind. That's the beautiful thing about life. You don't have to keep voting 90% for one group. It's okay to be different. So with that, I'm Chief.
And I am the Americano.
Little shout out to my Deadpool cardigan. Yeah.
USA.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Love you.